Welcome, listener, to another night in the archives. The hour grows late, but the fire is still warm, and the shelves, ever restless, have offered up something curious once again. I am the Archivist, and it's my duty, or perhaps it is my obsession, to uncover the forgotten fragments of our realms. Letters, journals, missives that were never sent. The quiet voices that history almost let slip away. Tonight I'll read to you one such piece. The parchment is fragile, the words, they're heavy with time, but if we listen carefully, perhaps we can hear the echoes of the soul who wrote them, and the world that they once belonged to. So then, let us begin. I have before me a collection of papers, 2 letters, and the record of the archivists that discovered them both. I cannot recall how they came into my possession, but I will start with the words of a fellow scholar. Part 1. The Archivist's Promise. To whoever listens to this record, this is Archivist Elaine Vero, keeper of the Northern Stacks. And what I hold before me tonight are 2 letters, both unsigned, both unclaimed, both written by hand on weathered vellum that still carries the faint scent of pine resin and old wax. The ink is faded, but not vanished. The handwriting trembles in the first, steady and practiced in the second. And between them, there is a story. The first letter was found sealed inside a ranger's journal, unearthed from the ruins of an old watch post along the Emberline Forest. Its pages were half burnt, the wax seal melted and fused to the leather binding. The second was tucked behind the false panel of an oak desk in a cottage near the Valley of Riversmeet. Carefully folded, wrapped in cloth, as if waiting for someone who never came. By the ink, by the phrasing, and by the hand, I believe they belong to each other and together. The first, a final letter home. The second, an answer that never reached him. I've read them more times than I should admit, and every time I find myself listening for the silence between the lines. There is something achingly human about these letters. They are not history's grand decrees, nor the formal proclamations of kings. They are just whispers, 2 souls reaching for one another across distance and death. You can almost feel the rain in the ink. The first letter, written by a ranger on the eve of his final patrol. His words, simple, steady, like footfalls on wet earth. He doesn't speak of glory or duty, only of love, and the wish that his last thoughts would find their way home. And somehow they did. The second letter bears no address. It was never sent. But the words, they carry the weight of loss. The writer speaks to him as though he were still out there, walking the trails, listening to the wind. What struck me most was not the grief. It was the peace. The way she, or perhaps he, it is hard to tell, speaks of the forest as if it keeps him, as if death to one who loved the wilds was not an ending, but a return. I catalog artifacts every day. Swords, maps, decrees, coins, even bones. But these letters, they are alive in a way none of those things are. They hum quietly, not with magic, but with memory. And perhaps that is the oldest magic of all. You see, there's something peculiar about ink on paper. It doesn't just record a thought, it traps a heartbeat. When you read it, it beats again. And sitting here, in the silence of the archive, I could almost swear I heard two heartbeats. The record will note them as anonymous correspondence, circa the Fourth Era. But I think that does them a disservice. These letters are not anonymous, they are intimate. Their names have simply gone back to the wind. Still, I find myself wanting to give them titles. The first, I call The Ranger's Goodbye. The second, The Letter That Was Never Sent. And this one, perhaps, is The Archivist's Promise. Because I will keep them safe. Filed under private correspondence, preserved with care. Bound in linen, sealed with gold thread, not because they are relics, but because they are proof that even in the quietest corners of history, love endures. And that, perhaps, is what history truly is. Not the battles, nor the crowns, but the small words between people that refuse to be forgotten. So, if you ever wander into the northern stacks, and you find a small wooden box marked only with a ranger's sigil, you'll know what lies inside. 2 letters, 1 heart, beating twice. And perhaps, if you listen closely, you'll still hear them. In the whisper of turning pages, or in the hush of falling rain. Good night, Ranger. Good night, Keeper. And good night to the wilds that hold you both. Another letter returned to silence. I often wonder what became of those whose words we've just read, whether their stories ended in peace, or if their echoes still linger, waiting for someone, anyone, to remember. But for now, this one will rest here, among the other voices of the forgotten. Thank you for keeping me company tonight, here amongst the dust and the candlelight. If you'd like to hear more of the stories I've uncovered, the archives are always open. You need only listen. And if you have stories that you would like to add to the archive, or know where I can unearth more, send your missives by courier or scrying stone. Until next time, traveler.